What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about Pierre Poilievre's message to the United States. And as an American, I feel as though he is addressing me personally. Well, honestly, I hope not. I mean, if I start this video and he's like, hello, everyone, and Tyler, I'll be like, be like, what? Be like, whoa, geez, I didn't sign up for that. He knows my name? So, I don't know. Joking aside, since this is someone, Pierre has an actual chance, I think a good chance by the sound of it, of becoming the Prime Minister of Canada in the future. So I thought this was really worth taking a look at, especially since he's addressing Americans here. So let's take a look.
As Winston Churchill said, though, you can always count on the Americans to do the right thing after exhausting all other possibilities.
Oh, no, what? Oh, God, I was getting so excited there. I was like, yes, maybe this is like a good American speech. Like, hey, we've always counted on you guys in the past, and it's far. Look at this. Look at him laughing at his little joke there. Okay, Pierre, good one. Oh, that's a real quote by Winston Churchill? I have not heard that one before. Oh my God, wait a minute. Let me hear this again.
Winston Churchill said, though, you can always count on the Americans to do the right thing.
Yeah.
After exhausting all other possibilities.
Oh boy, and the round of applause. Oh man, this stings. It stings a little bit. Probably some truth to this. I think maybe I would say you can definitely count on Americans to have our own self-interests at heart and be very self-serving. That's true. But, to be fair, on some level, doesn't everybody have their own interests at heart? Maybe a bunch of people out there who are like, no, you selfish, egotistical, crazy Americans. Like, okay, all right, fine.
So let me spell out the possibilities for our American friends.
Okay.
And speak directly to them.
This video is like at least a week or two old, I believe. I'm not exactly sure when he made this speech, but this is definitely in response to the whole U.S. tariffs on Canada situation. Okay.
Option 1. You can carry out an unprovoked attack on our economy. Your consumers will pay more and your workers will make less. Gas prices will skyrocket. You will turn a loyal friend into a resentful neighbor, forced to match tariff with tariff and to seek friends everywhere else. Both our economies will weaken, leaving less money for defense and security, and our enemies will grow stronger. Option 1.
Oh my God. Jeez. Oh my God. The way he phrased, I mean, he's obviously very well-spoken. He's very eloquent. Talks kind of fast, too. You got to keep up. And somehow he has a way of terrifying me as well. Probably in a good way. Quite honestly. I think some of the American people here could use a little bit of, not terror, but realism. Like, realize that this is a very real situation that's affecting real people. Maybe a lot of Americans don't feel like this is actually affecting their life, and this is just some kind of policy that exists up in the clouds, doesn't really mean anything. Oh, tariffs, what's that? Whatever, probably gonna... No, it's a very real thing, and I think Pierre does a great job here of really talking about the real-world ramifications of what the United States is doing in a good way. I think that's definitely something that needs to be said.
Option 2. We trade even more. And both our workers make more. Our consumers pay less. The resulting GDP boost allows Canada to further strengthen its border and up our military spending to 2% of GDP faster.
Oh yeah, he needs a glass of water after that banger right there. Man, that's right. Take a nice big sip, cause that definitely sounds better. Like I've said this in other videos that I've done. Like the whole America targeting Canada. Well, we also kind of targeted Mexico and China and have said things about Europe and really just kind of pissing off everyone at this point. But Canada in particular, when that happened, that really shocked me as an American. And I think there's got to be other Americans who share this sentiment. I mean, I've also said there's a lot of Americans who just don't really care about this whole situation. But I think some of us are just like, what are we like getting into a beef with Canada for? Like, what? Why? Like, that's since when? What? It's just really head scratching. So I agree with what he's saying here.
We stop fentanyl, terrorists, supersonic missiles, and other threats. We team up against the unfair trading practices of other countries. Both America and Canada separately, will end up safer, stronger, and richer as a result.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. This is sadly, this scenario is literally if we just continued as we were. Maybe make some improvements. There's always room to improve, but certainly the path to a better future is collaboration and working together rather than this divisiveness and these policies that are really driving Canada and the United States apart, based on a lot of other videos I've seen.
Oh, and there's something else. There's something else I'd like to say to our American friends.
Oh, okay.
We've always loved...
There's something else. Something else I want to say to Tyler Bucket. That's where I'd be like, what? But seriously, joking aside, this is literally a message to Americans right here. What is it? What is it, Pierre?
Always loved you as our neighbors and friends. There is no country with whom we'd rather share a border. The longest undefended border in the world.
Wow.
We know America is the biggest economic and military superpower the world has ever known. And we've been a good neighbor. We fought on the same side of the same wars. We paid with Canadian lives and treasure to fight for America, avenging the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah.
You have your grievance with us. We have ours with you. But I would ask you this question. Which other country would you rather have as your neighbor?
Seriously. Like, actually, it's getting real. I totally agree with what he's saying here. Like, I don't think it even matters politically where you fall, philosophically. Like, it's hard to disagree with, like, isn't it just a shame, given all the examples he's given and even more of the beautiful history between the United States and Canada and collaboration, dying for each other, like what's happening now, the difference now. That is a real shame. Like, yeah.
Ours with you. But I would ask you this question. Which other country would you rather have as your neighbor?
Yes, that's a good question. And I really think, like, most Americans would say Canada is it. Like, Canada is the perfect neighbor. Not just, like, economically or, like, the trade or whatever, but, like, the culture of Canada. Canadians, like Americans love Canadian. Americans don't know a lot about the details of Canadian culture, a lot of which I try to go more into depth on in this channel and learn about. But in general, like, Americans are very, very, very happy with Canadians. Like, no American has a bad thing to say about Canadians in general, like as a people, as a country, as a culture, like couldn't be more good of a someone to share a border with and to be next to, and yeah, like, and now we're kind of just dumping all that down the toilet for no real reason.
And if Canada is not your friend, who is? See, the problem is at times we might be too polite, soft-spoken, and humble for our own good. We are slow to anger and quick to forgive, but never confuse our kindness with weakness.
That's true. And honestly, that's a sentiment that does need to be said to more Americans, because I think a lot of Americans do make the mistake of being like, oh, Canada, sweet, polite Canada, like, what are they going to do with tariffs and stuff? Oh, they'll probably just pay them, right? Like, or probably just suffer the consequences of the tariffs. It's actually the American companies that have to pay the tariffs to our government, which is a whole other thing. But Canada is suffering some of the secondary consequences of those tariffs. It's like Americans don't really seem to care that much about that. And yeah, so this is such a perfect sentiment for him to share as well. And also it just feels like ungrateful on this, when especially when he phrases it like this. Feels like America is very ungrateful for our history and our the friendship between our countries, to then, on the flip of a switch, do this whole tariff thing, trade wars, just. And again, I've talked about this before, but I'll say it again. Most Americans really don't necessarily support tariffs on Canada. That was just something that was a consequence of electing Donald Trump. People wanted to elect Donald Trump for a lot of other reasons. And then he, as part of his policies, was like, tariffs on Canada. Yes. And most Americans, I think, were just like, okay, that's weird. Not really sure what that means. All right. And so that's why it's happening. But most Americans don't actively support the tariffs, but they don't condemn them enough. I'll say that. It's more of a passive, like, just allowing it to happen. So, yeah, take that for what you will. But I think everything Pierre is saying so far is actually really important to hear.
We love our country and our flag. We are a strong people with a proud history as a warrior nation whose soldiers have proven fierce enough to crush the fascists, the communists, and Al-Qaeda, yet humble enough to never once brag about their heroism. We are mild-mannered and made of steel.
Wow. Exactly. Yeah, no kidding. It's getting me kind of pumped up a little bit for Canada. Who wouldn't want Canada as like their partner in crime, for lack of a better word? Yeah, man. It's funny hearing him describe Canada with some of these qualities, because a lot of Americans have certain stereotypes about Canada and Canadian culture, and I think the real identity of Canada gets a little lost on Americans sometimes. So, yeah, that's just another reason why I think more Americans should kind of hear stuff like this.
So let me be clear. We will never be the 51st state. We will bear any burden and pay any price to protect the sovereignty and independence of our country.
This is what I assume is like the prevailing sentiment of most Canadians in regards to this ridiculous 51st state thing that just has to stop being a thing. Like that's just it wasn't even funny when it first started. It's just like insulting to Canadians, I think. And now hearing him say that again, like not for a second would anyone even entertain this, makes a lot of sense to me. Oh, is that it? Okay. Well, that was, holy cow. That was important to hear and a lot of interesting stuff. And I think it was so interesting because of a lot of the things he was directing, particularly at Americans. Messages about Canada and our relationship with Canada and what Americans should be looking for in the future with Canada. And like he said at the beginning of his little speech, sort of the two paths that lay before us. One which just sounds full of tariffs and horror, trade wars, animosity, and the ruining of a really great relationship. And then another path where it's just like, what the heck are we doing? Why don't we just continue doing what we were doing and improve upon that? Hopefully that's even still a possibility at this point, because we're going to see, aren't we? So the whole tariff thing was put on a 30-day hiatus last I heard about. The tariff thing, so here in America, the tariff thing, it's only been a few weeks and it's really kind of died down a lot. It was big news in the United States when it first happened, when Trump first talked about it and imposed it, threatened it. That was almost a month ago now, not quite. It's been on kind of hiatus while we're, I don't know, you could say negotiating with like Canada and Mexico. That's going to come to an end soon, the 30 days, right? If I'm correct. And then we're kind of going to see what the next chapter of this looks like. So, man, kind of holding our breath here. But as far as a response from Canada to the United States, I think Poilievre did a really great job here and actually had some really great things to say that more Americans should hear. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. If you're Canadian, I'm sure you have thoughts and opinions on this exact topic. This is a huge, I mean, as far as U.S.-Canada relations go, like this is the top, this is it. Like it's never been more topical and relevant than now. So feel free to give your opinion on all this. I get lots of, the American perspective on this. I get it all the time. I don't get the Canadian perspective on all this, except from mostly YouTube and comments from you guys. So that'd be great. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and learning about Canadian culture, seeing Canadian things I've never seen, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.